Welcome to Mastering the Numbers, your go-to podcast for a deep dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Joe Mallow. Join me as I sit down with successful business owners to uncover their journeys, learnings, successes, and future plans. From market trends to personal stories of triumph, Mastering the Numbers delivers invaluable insights to fuel your own entrepreneurial spirit. So grab a seat and get ready to be inspired.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mastering the Numbers. This is Joe Mallow with Elite Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. My guest today is Ken Glanc with Suburban Dog Walker, somebody I've had a chance to get to know over the course of the last 6-7 months around the Cleveland area. Ken, thanks for being a part of the interview series.
Joe, I appreciate the offer to be on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken, can you do the audience a favor and tell them a little bit about Suburban Dog Walker?
No problem. Thank you, Joe. So Suburban Dog Walker is actually a health literacy program that has come to life. We have a nonprofit that I oversee. I know this is going to be a stretch for some listeners, but I'm going to take you from comic books to dog walking in 3 seconds flat. So we have a nonprofit that's based in Elyria called the Elyria Comic Book Initiative. It promotes literacy of all kinds using comic books. And then it shows our participants how to create their own original comic book to bring their literacy to life. So overseeing this nonprofit, we promote literacy of all kinds. And as COVID kicked off, we wanted to start to put together a health literacy project of some kind. As we were in lockdown, trying to figure out how to get healthy, how to stay balanced, listen, a lot of that time was spent walking with our dogs, or at least was for me. So during that time, I was trying to get an idea of how to assess how much time I was spending with them. I was an avid Fitbit user. Like I had to get those 10,000 a day, no matter what. But when I looked at those, 90% of the time I was with the dogs. So it was like, I was trying to get a better understanding of this. So health literacy was a big buzzword, and I felt the benefits of walking with the dogs as well. That whole being outside piece as well. You get your moments of tranquility. You got a fitness component of it, plus that pet therapy aspect with the dogs. It was our sweet spot. So trying to figure out how to keep track of our activity outside of just using the Fitbit. And I stumbled across this mobile app called Woof Tracks, which essentially allowed us to track our progress, rank ourselves against other walkers. And the cool part about this app is it helped nonprofits and paid them a penny per walk, or at the time, a penny per mile that everybody went on. So as I looked at it, really essentially this concept was starting to come together, and where the Suburban Dog Walker League, actually our little pet name for the project, comes into play. I had always treated walking with the dogs kind of as a sport. So every time I left the house, I would tell my wife, "Hey, honey, I'm going suburban dog walking." And as we were out there, we either had so much time to complete our walk, we were going to go so far this day versus the other day. As we were walking, there were different perils, like cars could hit us, other dogs could run and chase us, we could trip and fall. The weather made an impact on our walks. So suburban dog walking as a sport, as a concept, was floating around out there. I find the Woof Tracks app. I was able to put it all together. So essentially, for our listeners, the Suburban Dog Walker League is a health and wellness program that focuses on wellness for you and your animal by walking together. We've taken the concept of walking with your dogs, turned it into a sport. It's organized into a league. That league is found on this mobile app that you download to your phone. Download it every time you go for a walk, turn it on. It keeps track of how many walks you go on, ranks you against other walkers in the league. And now the app does pay us, the nonprofit, a penny per walk that everybody goes on. At the end of the year, we take those pennies, we turn them into dollars, and the effort is to then give back into the nonprofit world. So we give those monies back to shelter rescues, wellness programs for you and I and our animals, And because we're outside walking together, there's an environmental component to it. So we are big supporters of green space, sustainability, and education.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a great program. As you know, my wife and I use the Roof Track app as well. So
I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you very much.
yeah. Suburban Dog Walker isn't your only business. So what prompted you to look to start another business on top of the one you already have?
I know. So actually, the nonprofit actually sits on top of another business. But when we started Elyria Comic Book Initiative way back in 2009, I was working in the financial industry for a local bank, and you know, outside of the bank, we getting involved in the community, realizing the importance of relationships and serving, if you will. I wanted to do my part, we wanted to do our part, and I've picked up a very important saying along the way that purpose drives performance. And when you have a purpose out there that you're passionate about, you can stand behind, it becomes infectious. And you're able to connect and relate in from a relationship standpoint a little bit differently than if you're prospecting for business to business sake. I was fortunate at the time working for that bank that we had retail apparel. So I wore that retail apparel everywhere I went. So you knew right off the bat, hey, listen, this guy works for this bank. And listen, if you used money, you were probably a good prospect for me to talk to. But I led off with the comic book discussion, talking about community and building that program. And I eventually had the best years of my career doing that. So being involved in the community, striking up new relationships, it 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 grew other transaction opportunities. So fast forward as we were coming out of COVID, uh, understanding still being in the financial industry, I wanted to set myself apart once again. And this health literacy program really is my lead effort that I take into the community. Uh, I'll quote my father. He instilled upon me I call them Billisms. His name is Bill, and these are some of his sayings. But if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. Be a leader, not a follower. These little Billisms start to come into play. And I'm sorry, I lost my track when I mentioned the Billisms. But Joe, can you go back and ask me your question once again? I was on a roll there, and I just
Yeah.
dovetailed.
Just what prompted you to start another business on top of
Oh,
the other nonprofit and the other business that you have?
gotcha. So it comes back to the Billism of be a leader, not a follower. And this was a chance to be a little bit different, set myself apart from not only individuals in my company, but certainly within the industry. So I had some ulterior motives back in the day when I was coming up with the Suburban Dog Walker piece. I spent a lot of time in the health insurance industry, or at least trying to generate opportunities there. So having discussions around health and wellness, overall engagement with employees, and having that connection with that potential buyer led to other door opening conversations for that service. So put that aside, this is still a very creative concept. And the Leary Comic Book Initiative, promoting literacy using comic books, I mean, that's a creative outlet or creative engine, if you will. So that it just doesn't shut off. You still have to have some outlets in your life where maybe mind, body, soul, a hobby, a profession, something for fitness. Just you got to have those three-legged stool balance points. So I can't shut off the creative. I want to do good, and this was just a combination of all of those elements coming together. That hey, there's some traction as we start talking about the concept. Let's keep pushing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're here. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, along the way, what have been some of the biggest challenges or struggles with Suburban Dog Walker you had to overcome to this
Well,
point?
it's not going to be any surprise to your listeners so far when I say this. The biggest struggle is to rein the idea down get some word economy behind it, and get very specific in what you're trying to do. So this is such an ambiguous concept that, I mean, I'm sure you've had many commissioners, if you will, of Suburban Dog Walker leagues on in the past. So a lot to compare yourself to. There's no playbook for what we have here, so it's a matter of really trying to understand, how does this work? And when I say that, as we were comparing the start of this project with the beginnings of the Illyria Comic Book Initiative, it took a good 5 years to really plant the seed in the community, start to articulate it, grab some people and put them around it, and start to get a project under our belt to get an idea of exactly who and what we were. Fast forward, I mean, the Suburban Dog Walker League. All right, there's some elements that maybe stand out. Oh, obviously dogs, maybe the suburban aspect, walking, but it was still very ambiguous. So it has been a challenge just to continuously refine, define, get feedback, and perpetually move the business while still being in an ambiguous state.
Yeah. Is there anything you would do differently in growing Suburban Dog Walker? Not different company wise, but just in growing that individual business? Are there things you would do a little differently?
That's a hard one, because I thought I had done things differently this time, in the sense that I had curbed maybe some of my inner expectations. I had curbed some of the expectations I would have set, like, oh, everybody was going to catch on to this idea right away. We would have lightning in the bottle. It wasn't. I mean, I remember back in all of the financial days, that, listen, if you're going to start a business, it's going to take 5 years, really, for you're going to start to make some money with it. So having that patience, one, is what I thought I took into it this time. Articulating it even more so, like trying to get some additional people around it as broad and as quickly as I could, all the while by saying, listen, it's not just my way. Give me some of your input along the way, maybe a learning that I have along the way on previous endeavors. So it's hard to say like what I would do differently again. And because it's such a unique idea, it's hard to even imagine what would have been different,
Right.
So it's hard to answer that one.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, at this point, it just means that you're going along the right path. There's nothing that's standing out that's glaringly wrong, right?
I hope we're going along the right path.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest facilitators of this pathway has actually been the participation in BNI. You and I have had a chance to meet through this organization, and I really want to take a chance to say thank you to BNI. They made an opportunity available to us as a nonprofit to participate in BNI for a full year for free. And with that opportunity and having the uniqueness of this category being the Suburban Dog Walker League, it's allowed me to travel to chapters all over our footprint. So I'm so thankful for that structure. And I will tell you, Joe, that it took me a long time to come around to BNI beforehand. Like, I was the person, I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to make sure I put that commitment in place. Like, what if something happened? I thought BNI was a little bit robust in reporting. But I'll tell you, after participating in it and understanding it, it's quite the contrary. Like, I look forward to this as a part of a structure. And again, going back to what we were talking about, what would you do differently? I got out of the box. I tried this as well, put in as far as my routine, look forward to, that engagement once a week, and, just by participating, being one-on-ones, again, out of the box differently, it's all worthwhile. So,
for the right people and individuals that are willing to put in the work, BNI is a fantastic group.
Absolutely.
fantastic networking opportunity. You have to put in the
Absolutely.
work, though, right?
You do.
So, on another level, once again, you've got two nonprofits. You have another business that I believe is your main business. And how do you maintain some sort of work-life balance or work-life integration, depending on how you look at it?
You know, it's come full circle in this answer. At first, I didn't, and fall of stress walking around, wasn't getting the proper exercise and nutrition. So it, that was one side of it. Then I kind of flipped the switch and understood, hey, listen, I do need to get a healthy balance of exercise. I've got to hydrate more. I've got to get some sleep. And as I was able to do that because I started to incorporate two for the price of ones, if you will, into those things. So we had the dogs, and hey, I've got to make sure that I get some of my time as well. As so, who's walking who? You know, are the dogs taking me
Right.
for a walk, etc. So trying to pivot and include more of that value add, and then as I started to put more value into the ad, an interesting thing came about. Our world coming back to COVID was torn apart, and some of us had a chance to kind of rebuild, push the restart button, if you will. And something I read along the way was try to build a world around you that you don't want to escape from. So as I did that, and I started to take a look back at what I'm doing on a day-to-day standpoint, what business I'm working on, or what major focus I have, it was a matter of how do I try to incorporate as much simultaneously as I could. You know, live the missions, be the person, demonstrate what you're trying to accomplish, and all the other, I guess, banners of business or transactional needs just kind of come behind you. Now it's a difficult it's a difficult path to walk at times because it's all encompassing. It's all the time, you know. But when you take a step back and you appreciate that this is what you were trying to build and you're living in that space, it it becomes all worthwhile. And that 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 achievement then allows the balance for me be able to be more mindful with the family, more
Yeah.
present in meetings, and just gives more balance and opportunities for those interactions.
Right. On top of that, I mean, do you have a support team either through work or at home that helps keep you on track with everything that you're doing?
It could be more extensive. I'll say it that way. It's a tight couple folks that have been helping me. A lot of self determination in what we're doing, but listen, you can't do everything on your own. And that
Yeah.
was maybe a big key learning from years ago as well. Trying to do things as much as I possibly could by myself, or at least I could control it.
Yeah.
As I've grown, and whether management, my coaching as well, certainly I'm only as good as the people around me, and the bigger their wins, the better I am. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, so if I'm not sure about Suburban Dog Walker, so you have to fill me in a little bit. I mean, are there other competitors out there that are doing something similar to what you're doing with that, or is this very unique?
It's unique in the sense that we're trying to unite as many people around the concept of health and wellness by walking with your dog. If you don't have a dog, that's fine. There's a virtual option, but the whole concept is for you to get up and start moving.
Yeah.
Movement is medicine. So when we start to take a look at utilizing this Wolf Tracks mobile app as our main construct to house our walkers, we we would start to technically compete against other nonprofits that are on the app. So I may be listed there, animal Animal Protective League may be listed, Cleveland Kennel. I'm just pulling names. They may all be listed there. There are 1.7 million people in Cleveland, or the greater Cleveland area, 1.4 in the suburbs. There's going to be plenty of people to go around, and this is anybody in the world can use this. But I think what we're competing against right now at this exact moment is the concept of walking against other nonprofit, other shelters. And what I say about that is nonprofits, come find us, form a group under our banner. And the reason I'm advocating this is along the way, Wolf Tracks has made an adjustment to the app in which your nonprofit needs to maintain at least 20 active walkers per week for the entirety of the quarter to be eligible to receive those pennies as a payout. When I take a look at some of those nonprofits across the board, they have great download numbers. People have signed up to walk on their behalf. However, they may only have half a dozen active walkers at that time. Yeah. So it's futile. Come join us. Put a group under our banner. Whatever you raise, whatever you walk, we're going to make sure that it goes back to your nonprofit, and we're going to match that back to you as well. So I don't want to compete against other walkers or other nonprofits to gain this. We're trying to help everybody as much as we can. So really now that's really the only competition we have as a force, but as a concept, there's really nothing else like this out there. Yeah. Trying to bring walkers and people together across the board like this program.
Yeah. So how many dog walkers do you have on a routine weekly basis?
Good question. We right now today, as I'm looking at the app, we have 35 active walkers. This weekend we got as high as 39, and since the beginning of May, so May, June, and now coming to the end of July, we've been hovering right around 32 active walkers per week, which has been fantastic. To put that in perspective, last April, we had 35 downloads for this app. Today, we have 177. Yeah. We have 35 active walkers, and we only had 35 downloads last year. So we've had some tremendous growth. This is our 5th year of being organized walking. We started in 2020, and we have grown just exponentially, percentage-wise, year after year, as far as the involvement and the overall awareness.
Yeah. That's great. So where do you see Suburban Dog Walker in the next 12 to maybe 36 months?
Oh, this I'm really excited to talk about. We had 2 growth goals this year. One was to increase our number of active walkers. So our growth goal, we're still striving, but we have a growth goal of 100 active walkers by the end of the year. So I like our pace, but as we continue to grow, I'm concerned that we don't grow too fast, because our second biggest challenge we have, or our second most important goal that we need to reach, is that right now for individuals, if they want to participate, they would download the Wolf Tracks app, they would find the Suburban Dog Walker, and they would start walking on the behalf of the nonprofit. Back at league headquarters, I have no idea that has happened. Meaning I might see that there's another walker that is signed up under our community listing, but I have no idea that it may be Joe Mallow or Super Joe with, any of your nicknames for your animals as well. So what we're trying to do now, and I'm excited that we should have some infrastructure in place within the next 2 weeks, that as you scan that code, you'll come to the Suburban Dog Walker. We'll have a chance to get you enrolled with the league and then port you over to the Wolf Tracks app. It's going to give us a chance to build now a community that we can interact with and bundle any type of communications, seminars, resources, products, services, etc., to start capturing that base. Once we have that now, we're going to shift back into that active walker component that I talked about. And where I see us going here is more, think corporate challenge. So I want to swim upstream and talk to large organizations around employee engagement, team building exercises, and then, of course, overall health and wellness. Some of the advancements within the app give us those capabilities of building subgroups within the league. And by doing so, you might be able to match, say, accounting versus purchasing or marketing versus sales and start to drive some engagement, some team building exercises. And because, listen, this program is a global availability. I mean, it's download the mobile app to your phone anywhere you walk within the world. And because there's a virtual option available, I mean, anybody can do it. So I'm excited to see where we can go in year 6, how much we can extrapolate this base of participants, and see what new and exciting partnerships we can bring on board going forward as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to see how things go and continue to go over the next few years. Like I said, my wife and I use the app as well with our dog, so I'd like to see it continue to grow and grow. On a completely different side, what's the best business advice you think anybody's ever given you?
You know, it's such, oh man, any given day, there's going to be a saying, or a formula. I just had the 20-10-1 discussion the other day. 20 dials that I make, I might, dials, right? Who's calling people in this day and age like this? So 20 outreaches, I may contact 10 of them, and of them, I may get that one appointment. I think some of the best advice I get also comes back to it's really going to be a personal component because it's going to translate into your business as well. It's to control what you can control, plain and simple, control what you can control. And 9.9 out of 10 times, that's just going to be you. So controlling yourself in the face of a challenge, a windfall, if you're desperate for a number or it's a grind or whatever it is, controlling yourself, staying disciplined. I saw this great saying on a t-shirt the other day. Shout out to the Green Goat in downtown Cleveland. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is freedom. I'm like, yep,
like
absolutely. That. So some of the best advice I get comes back sometimes to some of the, I don't want to call them cheesy sayings, but there's some appeal to what they have in there. Purpose drives performance, discipline equals freedom. Like it resonates. So I think that's some of the best advice that I'm inputting into this right now.
Right. Those are good bits of advice. So final question. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting maybe a nonprofit like you have, or they're thinking about starting a business on their own, but they just can't seem to get over the hump and start it?
Well, first on the nonprofit side, I'm going to say this. Listen, I don't think the world needs any more nonprofits. Okay. I think the nonprofits that are out there need to work and collaborate with each other more. We are all fighting to serve the same person, and we're competing to do this. I mean, we're fighting for resources, for funds, all to say, hey, we're helping this person. Listen, get our egos out of it, and let's start working better and together to streamline that service. Yeah. On the flip side of that, I would say, listen, everybody, get out there, start your idea, take the leap, start something small, get a tiny project under your belt and see how it went. Did you like doing it? Did you think you can do this over and over again? Is this something you feel you truly want to do? And then go bigger, but try, start something. And if it doesn't work out, listen, that's fine. You don't have to be that thing for the rest of your life. I'm going to try a bookkeeping business. Oh, it didn't work. And now, I'm a bookkeeper for the rest of my life. No, man, reinvent yourself, move past it, but try something. If you are on the fence, just just do it and surround yourself then with the best people that you know. Ask for those trusted advisors along the way, your circle of influence. That's why they are called the circle of influence. And get some advice from them. And before you know it, you've got that base underneath you and you are sailing on your own.
Yeah. I think if you have a good idea and you have a passion, you have to take that chance, or 6 months, a year, 20 years down the road, you're going to regret it. So
you're right.
And you always think about it.
And Joe, going back to that saying about purpose drives performance, it starts with passion. If you don't have the passion, what is the purpose? You've got to start somewhere. And what your greatest superhero power is being you. Nobody else has that ability. Your second is your creativity. So everybody's got a way of approaching something, a passion of some kind, and how that translates. Like if you want to get something done, you'll find a way to get it done. You'll think of a way, like, even if it's far-fetched and crazy of an idea, it's fine. You'll still think it through and you'll come up with the solution. And that's all it takes, that one little spark of hope, and you're off and running.
Absolutely. Hey, Ken, really, I appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure having you on to the podcast today. If anybody out there wants to get in touch with you in regards to Suburban Dog Walker, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can find a ton of information about us at suburbandogwalker.org. And you can also email me directly, ken@suburbandogwalker.org.
All right, great. Well, once again, I appreciate you being on the show. And for all those out there listening, I appreciate it as well. I look forward to catching everybody on the next episode of Mastering the Numbers. Ken, take care.
Joe, thanks a lot. Thank you.
You've just experienced another insightful episode of Mastering the Numbers. We hope you enjoyed the journey and gained valuable insights to fuel your financial success. Don't forget to subscribe to Mastering the Numbers on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. And be sure to leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Until next time, keep pushing forward and let your entrepreneurial spirit soar. Thank you for listening.